I welcome to Spark Joy podcast. I am Bonnie Brown, and yeah, I really just actually wanted to introduce you to some of my work, and it's called Lady Liberty. Now, Lady Liberty was something that I actually developed back in 2023, and it was an answer really to some of the questions that I had had, and it was a program that I developed that was the program I wish I had when I was going through a season of transition, immense change, disruption. And as my identity, as you know, as a businesswoman, as a real estate agent, as a mother, some of these different um, titles, some of these, the identity that I had kind of built my life around. So, because at that stage it was like, who is Bonnie? Well, I would say, well, I'm a mother of Lucia and Evie, and obviously that hasn't changed. But I would say, what type of work I was doing, and that I was married to Greg. There were all these, and I lived in Mount Pleasant. And that all of that dissolved away. And so my career changed and completely got dissolved where I was actually in the void. In the void of that, I didn't have, what do you do to lean on anymore? And so I was really through these, these lessons that I've gone through that I was able to really develop this work, which is Lady Liberty. And so on at the end of this month of July, I am hosting Lady Liberty again in a fresh new way. And I'd love you to be part of it. And so I really just wanted to talk into that and what that's about. So let me tell you a little bit more about Lady Liberty. So let me just move. So yeah, there really just comes a moment in a woman's life where, she wonders like, is this everything? I remember, and this sounds terrible, but I used to actually, look at my husband and not think, oh gosh, am I going to be married to Greg? And this is kind of it. And till he's 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever, and there was just this kind of ache that maybe there was something else for me that I hadn't, yeah, that I kind of signed up for a life that was missing some of the key aspects, which would activate and display some of my true narratives, my most innocent identity before some of those other kind of frameworks got built around my life. So that's where Lady Liberty came from. So let me just get a few of my notes. It's just kind of disappeared here. I don't know where that's disappeared to. It's a bit strange. Um, hmm. We'll just totally strange. So it's lovely to have you here today, back on the podcast. And yeah, I just feel like that actually I'm going to continue just to yeah, bring what is current for me and what I know at the moment. So it's so strange what I was, oh, there it goes. It's popped back up. Yeah, anyway, so Lady Liberty is really, basically what I'm doing is I'm looking back over the work I have created. And some of it seems like it's unconnected, but I've been building a platform and a plethora of different assets which will go towards, that make up my brand, Bonnie Brown and Spark Joy, and some of the programs that I offer. And so, in the beginning, as I started to step into this work, you know, this is completely normal, I've learned, is that I didn't totally know like the path that I would take, or, I was trying to, when you're creating something out of nothing, because that's what every entrepreneur does, whether you're creating a product. In my case, I was creating you know, programs, services, a brand. a personal brand based around my own life experience. Some of that was, I've been doing like deep heart work at the same time to kind of bring that forth because sometimes it's easier if you're just selling a product because it's more transactional. And I'm not saying it's completely easier, but it can be more transactional in the point that you're not selling, your heart and kind of like the inner workings of of who you are, of your identity. And a personal brand, is definitely something that gets up quite close and personal with who you really are. And so, yeah, so Lady Liberty, there comes a moment in every woman's life when she quietly wonders, is this really it? And maybe you've built a career, as I had. Maybe you've raised a family. You've just supported everyone around you, and you've achieved things that even look quite spectacular. And, maybe you dreamed about them. So from the outside, it can look like a really full life and a good life, and it can definitely be that. But there's just this whisper, and I want to know because there's kind of two women. This is what I see just when I spend time with women is that there's either a whisper underneath it that they want more, or the other group is too afraid. And I don't want to say afraid, but like in their subconscious mind and in their heart, it's safer not to kind of visit that place of unfulfilled dreams or that whisper underneath that's saying, come away with me. I've got something that I want to show you. It's like for me, because I have a relationship with God, that definitely informs some of that, like coming away where he would, kind of download and say, hey, Bonnie, this is how I've designed you and created you. And these are the types of activities and work where you'll really flourish and be nourished and you'll have a lot to contribute. So I've been fine tuning that. And that's something that I bring into my work, which is helping other people recognize what they're already carrying. And Lady Liberty, this program, I really see it as kind of, a foundational program in my suite of programs that I'm building out. And so, yeah, during COVID, I worked for Shanta Sumter, who is a Californian coach. She now lives in Puerto Rico. But she used to run a leadership school, and we were selling, as an enrollment coach, I was selling those programs for her, and they were $5,000, and it was for a 1 week leadership program, and that there was US dollars. And she was actually just selling the leadership program called The Journey. And it was really just sort of what Lady Liberty is, stripping away and really getting down into the bedrock of somebody's foundations, of their identity, how they think, and creating some of that internal infrastructure to think like a leader. And so she wouldn't even introduce and bring anyone into her programs until that done her leadership program, which is $5,000. Lady Liberty is not $5,000. And I really want to get this work out to as many women as possible. So if you have, anybody can do it. And I want to, if you can share it, if you think I have a sister and she's going through a hard time, or maybe someone who's going through a career transition, or they've left school and wondering what to do with their life, they come through a divorce, maybe they want to create a career, maybe, they want to create lots of money, travel, all of these things, the Lady Liberty course, my program, will really help you identify some of the key things, the structures that you would need to have in place so that you could build out your dream, your passion. And if you don't know what your dream or passion is, then I've have these, my methodologies that I've put together in these tools, which will help unlock and for you to really kind of do a bit of digging, do a bit of mining down into your heart. So yeah, so just getting back to there's this whisper underneath and this quiet niggle that says, I'm not living the fullness of my most vibrant capacity. And I saw a reel on Instagram this morning by this cool guy who lives in Portugal, and he was talking about returning to the innocence, of like the trueness of your narrative of who you are. And have you ever woken up and gone, how on earth did I get here? And I think, we all want to kind of wake up and say, how on earth did I get here? But it's actually something incredibly positive. We're having those feelings and that experience of living within, a life that really delights us and that has a lot of harmony and joy and choice and possibility. And we're getting to tick off some of those things that really make us feel like we're fully coming alive. And so I really enjoyed that. But if this is landing somewhere in your heart and in your gut, and you're thinking, gosh, Bonnie's definitely kind of touching on something, then yeah, welcome. This is Spark Joy. And so um, the reason that I wanted to talk about this is that building quietly for a long time, that I'm really ready to kind of open up these doors wider and call people into the space. And I want to tell you exactly who it's for and who maybe more importantly it's not for and why, I'm giving you some of the framework why I built it in the first place. Um, yeah. So, all right, where are we gonna? Yeah, so to explain why Lady Liberty exists, um, yeah, I've kind of already mentioned that I've been through a season of my life that pretty much completely undid me. And a few years ago, my identity that I built around my career, around, the community that I was part of, it disappeared. It got dissolved. It got dismantled. And some key anchor relationships, humans that I placed a lot of trust and, um, they're kind of foundational to my well-being, were removed. My mum died, my 17-year marriage ended, in my career, the thing that I did that I thought, defined me and gave me value, all these things, it sort of was not built on the right foundation because, we should never put our full trust in humans and human beings. And I remember once I had a really best friend that was a girlfriend, a female friendship that I just got a lot of joy from. And I remember my mom just saying, don't put this friend on a pedestal too high. And I think, of course, we need to be, loved and in community and in family and things like this. But if we are elevating somebody and a human is kind of becoming your God or your go-to, or the person that you get security and safety and, outsourcing some of these things to, then it's not going to be a firm foundation for you to, build your life, and especially if you want to become a leader. And that's really who I'm interested in speaking to. I'm interested in speaking to men and women who know that they have called to create something, to become a maker, an entrepreneur, a designer. Perhaps you're creating a product or you are the personal brand that you're saying, my life, I'm going to transparently live it out in the open, on social media, and then decide what that looks like for you. So, yeah, it's exciting. So, yeah, somewhere in that unraveling, something shifted, and I actually stopped searching for answers like outside of myself. So, I stopped outsourcing to humans because some of them had let me down. Rightly, like my mum said, don't put your trust in humans in that type of way. That's to go to God, that He would be your foundation of your well-being, your emotional health, and then obviously within myself, that my own, that I would be keying the lock to my own emotions and and the way I thought, and having this kind of healthy heart that was being informed by um not by outside influences in a negative way, but that I was receiving from God and definitely for me through hearing his voice and scripture and spending time with him. And so, yeah, this podcast is, in Spark Joy, that's been the interesting thing as I've, brought this work into the world. is, deciding, who I'm speaking to. And yes, I'm somebody who, since I've been a little girl, has had strong faith, but the people that I'm surrounded in life quite often don't have any faith or perhaps haven't begun that journey. And so if that's you, you're definitely welcome here. And, yeah, learn from me. I'd love you to hear and ask questions of my experience, and hopefully it will help you on your own journey. So, um, yeah, so these are some of the questions I started asking. Who am I? What am I actually here to do? And what kind of life do I want to build from here? And yeah, and then I just partnered with God in that season, and I listened, and which I'm pretty good at hearing God's voice. And so I was really hearing what He was speaking over my life and my calling, my next chapter. And he said a few things. He said that, I was going to start building out some programs and this personal brand and be online, but also that I was going into corporate like CEOs kind of structures where I would be contributing there too. So, I've been standing at the road and like I'm saying that figuratively, like stand at the ancient path and listen, like what way to go. And I really feel like that now is the time for me to really push forward with this work that I've already built out and just, open the doors to a wider audience to it, which is Lady Liberty. Um, yeah, I started transformational coaching in 2022, even though I've been coaching, mentoring, guiding people my whole life. Even since I was, a little girl, people always, I've had that kind of leadership thing on me where people would seek me out for answers, counsel, understanding, problems, solving problems, all of that. Like I get a lot of energy from that, and I love sewing into people in that way. And yeah, so I'm really feeling like I'm, got this confidence about what my life work is. Now, I don't know entirely how it's all going to unfold, but I'm taking the next step. And that's what I invite you to do is to take the next step. And if this Lady Liberty program is a way for you to take that step. And, even if you think, gosh, Bonnie, I'm all over it and everything's working very, very well, this could just be like a good diagnosis to see if there's something that, that you haven't thought of. So, because, my heart is really to help people connect with who they truly are and underneath everything that life has piled on top of them. And I know that can be, yeah, that can be a really painful place to be. And yeah, that's happened to me before, where you feel like your circumstances have become narrow or your perceptions of your circumstances feel like that, perhaps there aren't as many possibilities or open doors with clarity that you would hope. But that's exactly why I've built this for creators, founders, mothers, makers, and people who want to really lock on. And there's a quote from Abraham Maslow, and he says, one can choose to go back towards safety or forward towards growth. And I told my sister when I went to visit her in Australia at the end of last year, I said, Jessica, I'm going to begin to take some actions that may look quite risky because I felt that it was a season to try some things and to experiment in a way that I hadn't done before. And and I feel like that my nervous system, my being, my spirit is willing to absorb the result of those and the risk and the unknown of what that could look like. And so some of the things that I plan to do will be hosting events and publicly speaking. And I've just finished producing my media kit so that I can be available, as a podcast guest and things like this. Because I'm really choosing a season of growth and definitely not because it's easy. It takes courage for me every time to even just like log into this podcast and to do this. And but terrifying is good. When I'm a little bit terrified, I'm like, okay, I think I'm on the right track. And because staying small and choosing lesser options is no longer an option for me because I'm so, I've developed, this vision for, the life and the work that I hope to bring forth in the world in a bigger way. So I know that my story is actually not completely unique, and I think there's actually women listening to this right now and men who are standing at the edge of their own chapter change, and maybe not from loss like mine or disruption, though that touches all of us, but maybe just from years of quietly deprioritizing yourself, like same edge, same choice, and yeah, definitely. I'm going to put in the show notes down below a link to the Lady Liberty course. It will be run over 10 days. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what it is. So it's a 10 module journey. It's not a course that you're going to sit passively through and watch and never do. So it's an experience that you move through, and I've made it really simple so that you can access it whether you're, out walking the dog or dropping kids off, or if you were just in the kitchen. It's just bite-sized pieces, and there will be homework, but it's built for women who sense that they're waiting to be unlocked. They're waiting for a moment that they haven't been able to put their finger on. And one of the things that the reason my podcast is called Spark Joy is because I'm an igniter. I'm somebody who sparks things into life. So an actual spark plug in a car helps everything work. It gives the momentum for the car to go forward. And so my work, I'm like a spark plug. I'm somebody who ignites and starts, um, you know, uh, like something in you so that you can step into a version of you that you've never experienced before. And yeah, so if you're a creator, a founder, a mother, a wife, a sister, um, yeah, and you want to step into, something new, definitely check it out. So the reason that the name matters to me, Lady Liberty, liberty is the French word for freedom. And obviously I'm a believer, and so, freedom, according to scripture is in Christ. And so I'm not taking away from that. Um, but I'm speaking about this freedom that comes where a woman knows entirely who she is, that she's loved, and she has a vision for what her life is, her work is. So when she wakes up in the morning, that the work that she's doing or the activities she's doing are actually tied into a larger purpose. Because this is what I found, in a day you can get up and you can be doing your activities, because every day is made up of these small moments, whether it's going to the gym, eating your oats, taking care of your children, cleaning your house. But the sum of it, the thrust of it, we want to be connected to your purpose, because years can go by where you're not connected to your purpose. And I even coached women like this um, during COVID. So I was on Zoom calls, and I would have one-on-one Zooms with women all over the world, in Belgium, London, New York, all over the United States, Australia. And I remember there were quite a few who were in their 70s. And these coaching calls I had with them haunted me, because some of their fears and what they were saying, this is back in 2020, before, I've been on this journey and this process, it was like patterns of thinking that I had as a 39-year-old, but they were 70 and they were reaping the rewards or no reward. They were in really dire situations. But as I spoke to them, they were saying things that I believed, and they were like faulty beliefs. And it was like a wake-up call where God was saying, oh my goodness, like if you don't grow in this way, this could be you. I mean, that sounds harsh, but it was a wake-up call to me that I needed to take action in a new, fresh way, and that I was actually going to disrupt these patterns of thinking that I had. It was like a spotlight was shined on it. Like we all want to have a look into the future and be like, I wonder what I'll be like when I'm 65, and if some of my dreams and passions, and I'm doing the things that I want to do. And so I felt like I was getting a glimpse of one alternate future that I definitely didn't want. And yeah, and these women as well, I just want to say is that they was at that age, they were signing up for this women's program that I was selling at the time because they were desperate. They realized that something had to change when that life was unsustainable in the pattern that they were in. So this is why liberty, freedom, and this is definitely genuinely what freedom from self-doubt, freedom from fear, freedom from living someone else's version of your life, freedom to dream again, freedom to become fully yourself. And over these 10 modules, we'll go on a journey together, and we'll start getting really honest. I'm just going to move this up here. Oh dear. Um, Thanks for your patience there. Yeah, so we'll go on a journey. We'll start by getting honest about where you actually are right now, not what you think you should be, not the highlight reel or the real, the current truth of your life. And so from there, we'll then reconnect with your dreams that are still alive inside of you. And I want you to see them in Technicolor. And even if they've been quiet for years, or somebody said, oh, that's never possible, we'll look at your unique strengths and gifts and the ones you've probably stopped noticing because you feel too natural to count as special. And then we're going to get really curious about what actually brings you joy, not what you've been told about, but yeah, we're going to look at honestly at these different areas of your life that are asking for renewal, for play, for a little risk, and then we'll build something concrete, a real vision for your future in full color, plus practical tools to move you from dreaming into doing. So this isn't about adding this, honestly, this is not about adding more to your plate. I want to be really clear. And you're already carrying enough, but this is just like uncovering, okay? It's like an archaeologist. We're just going to dig away a little bit and find those treasures. Inside the container, you'll also get guided video sessions, reflection exercises, and it's all going to be in a Telegram group. So I hope to see you there. And the reason I just wanted to describe this specifically as I can, because I rather you clearly kind of knew that it was for you, or if you need to recommend it to someone. So yeah, if you're standing at the end of one chapter and genuinely don't know what comes next, so you've put your dreams on hold for so long that you're not even sure what's still possible, or if you're craving clarity, confidence, and a renewed sense of direction, and you'll be capable for more, but something's just been holding you back and you can't quite name what it is. And you don't need to have a business idea or a 5-year plan or even a clear sense of what you want. It's not about fixing you. Um, you need space, and this is going to give you a little bit of space to be still and actually hear yourself. That inner wisdom for that to come through, space to remember who you were before all those roles and the expectations and the noise. That's what this 10 days will create for you. And so if you're listening, you're thinking, oh my goodness, this feels like someone has been reading my diary or my journal. That's not a coincidence. This is exactly who I've built it for. So this is how it's going to work practically. Lady Liberty runs July 30 through to August 9th, and I'll be dropping a new video every second day. And it's going to have audio guidance in between, so it never feels overwhelming, just enough to keep you moving forward. And the sessions will run for 30 to 60 minutes, and then you'll have access to absolutely everything for 12 months afterwards. So if your life's like super full on, you're not going to miss it and you have time to work through it. It'll be hosted inside a Telegram group, which is just an app on your phone you can download. And that's one of my favorite parts of this. And it's really intimate, amazing community of women walking through this. not just content which you're going to forget about because that's boring. So the investment is in the show notes below. And yeah, if you're someone who thinks, gosh, I just want to talk through this first, if you've got questions, and you want to know if this is the right season for you, I mean that genuinely, email me. I read every one, and my hope isn't to convince anyone, it's just to make sure that the women who join are actually the ones that are truly ready to say yes to themselves. And so I want to leave this with you. Sometimes the greatest transformation doesn't come from learning something brand new. It comes from remembering what your heart has known all along. And that's what Lady Liberty is a return, not to who you used to be, but to the woman you were always meant to become. And I hope this is landing for you. And if something in you is already like saying, yes, oh my goodness, Bonnie, I'd love to have, I want you to come and join us. Okay. And you'll find the link in the show notes and everything you need to enroll right there. So doors are open now, and I can't wait to walk this next chapter with you. Thanks for listening today. I'm Bonnie. This is Spark Joy, and I'll see you on the next episode. Make sure you join Lady Liberty.